Have you ever just stopped and daydreamed about what your life could look like? With more time, a lot less financial stress, and maybe a much better view from your window? What if you could actually upgrade your lifestyle, retire years, even decades earlier, or just live a richer, more fulfilling life? All without needing some massive paycheck. Well, it might sound like a bit of a fantasy, but today we're going to break down a really fascinating financial case study that shows exactly how it's possible. Let's get into it.
So before we really dive in, just a quick note so you know where all this is coming from. Everything in this case study is based on our own original research and publicly available stats from 2025. It means you're getting a fresh take, not just a rehash of stuff you've already heard.
And of course, the important legal stuff. Please remember, this is all for informational and educational purposes. I'm not a financial advisor, so this is definitely not financial, visa, or tax advice. The whole point here is to explore a powerful idea, but for your own situation, you should always talk to a qualified professional. Okay? Great.
All right, now just take a look at these images. Seriously, imagine swapping your daily commute for a walk along a beautiful port in Chile, or maybe ending your day looking out over a peaceful harbor in Greece. This isn't just some travel brochure fantasy, it's a very real possibility, and it's all made possible by the strategy we're about to break down. So here's the game plan for this case study. We're going to start with the dream, what a richer life actually means. Then we'll get into the strategy that powers it all, called Geo Arbitrage. We'll look at a case study with 3 amazing destinations, figure out the financial engine you need, and then, the best part, lay out the actual blueprint to make it all happen.
All right, first up, the dream. And let's be really clear here. This is about so much more than just pinching pennies. It's about changing the whole equation. It's about gaining more time, more experiences, a better quality of life. Honestly, it's about gaining more life. So, how do we do it? What's the secret sauce that makes this dream a reality? Well, it's a strategy called Geo Arbitrage. And the concept, it's actually super simple, but incredibly powerful. Earn your money in a strong, high-cost economy, but live your life in an affordable, high-quality one. So, to put it simply, Geo Arbitrage is just a fancy term for taking advantage of price differences between places. Think about it. Your income, whether it's from investments or a remote job, comes in a strong currency like US dollars. But you're spending it somewhere that your money goes way, way further. It's like giving yourself an instant raise. Now, this brings up a really important question, right? Should you just try to find the absolute cheapest place on Earth? Is cheaper always better? And the answer, let me tell you, is a huge no. See, chasing the absolute bottom dollar can be a massive trap. You might save on rent, but you could end up paying for it in other ways, with spotty internet, terrible roads, limited flights when you need to get home, or, even worse, sketchy healthcare and political instability. Those aren't savings, they're major sacrifices. So the goal isn't cheapest, it's smartest. And our research shows there's a real sweet spot. You want to aim for a place that's about 25 to 50% cheaper than where you live now. This gives you a huge financial leg up without you having to give up the things that really matter, like safety, good healthcare, and modern infrastructure. Okay, so let's put this theory to the test. In this next part of our case study, we're going to explore 3 amazing destinations on 3 different continents that land right in that 25 to 50% sweet spot. They offer this incredible balance of high quality of life and amazing value. First up, we're heading down to South America, to Chile. Specifically, a gorgeous coastal city like Viña del Mar. I mean, it's this perfect blend of modern city life with stunning Pacific Ocean views.
So what's so great about Chile? Well, for starters, it has a really efficient private healthcare system where seeing a specialist costs just a tiny fraction of what you'd pay in the States. You get this beautiful, mild coastal climate pretty much all year long. Plus, you'll find stable communities, growing expat hubs, and one of the highest life expectancies in the Americas.
All right, for destination number 2, let's hop over to Europe, to Greece. This is a country that really doesn't need much of an introduction. You've got the history, the food, that classic Mediterranean lifestyle. It's iconic for a reason. But beyond just the stunning views, why Greece? Well, it has some pretty amazing perks. You get access to world-class public hospitals, especially in Athens. You get to enjoy over 300 days of sunshine a year. The culture is just incredible, and you'll find these really welcoming communities of retirees and expats, especially out on the islands. And for our third and final spot in this case study, we are jetting off to Southeast Asia, Malaysia. The amazing thing about Malaysia is that you get this true tropical paradise vibe, but it's combined with super modern and efficient infrastructure. Malaysia is a real standout for a few reasons.
First, its hospitals are internationally accredited with English-speaking staff, which makes healthcare super straightforward for expats. The weather is a huge draw. It's tropical year-round. It's also incredibly multicultural and welcoming, with visa programs designed for foreigners and the fact that English is spoken everywhere.
Okay, so what does this all actually cost? Let's talk real numbers for a couple. As you can see, the total monthly budget, and this includes rent for a nice 2-bedroom apartment, is around $2,300 for Greece, just over $2,000 for Chile, and even less in Malaysia at about $1,900 a month. Just think about that for a second, compared to what you're probably paying right now.
And here's what that looks like in percentage terms. Compared to living in the US, you're getting a 21% discount in Greece, but look at Chile and Malaysia. We're talking 43% and a whopping 50% cheaper. Half price. This right here is the power of Geo Arbitrage in action, hitting that sweet spot while living an incredible life. So, a lower cost of living is amazing, but you still have to pay the bills, right? That brings us to the most critical piece of this entire puzzle. The engine. How do you actually fund this lifestyle, ideally with a steady stream of passive income that doesn't tie you to a desk? One really powerful tool for this is something called a covered call ETF. Now, don't get hung up on the jargon. In simple terms, it's a special kind of investment fund that's designed to do one thing really well: produce regular cash flow, like a monthly paycheck. It does this by owning stocks and then basically renting them out. The result? You can get really high annual yields, often in that 8 to 12% range.
Okay, the absolute best way to understand this is with an analogy. Think of a covered call ETF like owning a rental property. You own the asset, in this case stocks, and you collect a steady rent check every single month from something called premiums. Now, what's the trade-off? Well, you might miss out on a huge surge in the stock's price, kind of like a landlord would miss a housing boom if they're locked into a long-term lease. It's a strategy built for income, not necessarily for explosive growth.
Now, just to help you with your own research, here are some examples of these kinds of ETFs that you can find in the US and in Canada. And remember, these aren't recommendations. They're just popular tickers that you can use as a starting point for your own research.
Okay, we have covered the destinations, the costs, and a way to generate the income. Now it is time for the best part of this case study, the blueprint. Let's connect all of these dots and build a real concrete plan to make this happen.
Step 1 of the blueprint. We need a target. And to be safe, we're going to use the highest cost from our examples, which was Greece. So our target monthly income is $2,300. That's the number a couple would need to live very comfortably in any of these amazing places.
Step 2, let's set our engine's performance. Using that covered call ETF strategy we talked about, we're going to aim for a 10% average annual yield from our portfolio. Now, no investment is ever guaranteed, but this is a pretty realistic target for this kind of income-focused strategy.
And now, for step 3, the final number, the one that puts it all together. To generate $2,300 a month with a 10% annual yield, you would need an investment portfolio of around $280,000. Now just stop and think about that number for a second. For so many of us, that feels so much more achievable than the $1 or $2 million we're always told we need for retirement, right? This is the number that turns a vague dream into an actual, doable plan.
Wow. Okay, we've gone all the way from a big, beautiful dream down to a very specific number. So for this final section, let's talk about the single most important takeaway from all this and what your next step could be.
If you only remember one thing from this entire case study, please let it be this. The financial foundation is way more important than the country you choose. It doesn't matter if you dream of Chile or Greece or Thailand, your success is going to depend entirely on building that reliable income engine first. Because a lower cost of living is an amazing amplifier, but it can't create income out of nothing.
I know that was a ton of information, and I am sure it sparked some ideas and probably some questions. What did you think about the destinations we looked at? Does that $280,000 number seem achievable to you? Please share your thoughts and questions down in the comments. I read all of them, and I would genuinely love to hear what you think.
And finally, hey, if you're passionate about this stuff, financial independence, passive income, early retirement, designing your own life, then please consider subscribing. We do new case studies like this one all the time, and I also share a full, transparent update on our own investment portfolio around the 20th of every single month. Thank you so much for your time and for exploring this with me today.